Hey everyone, so today we're going through 4 haunting Reddit threads, and a couple of these really got to me. Drop a like and subscribe if you want more. Let's get into it. And if these stories pull you in, come join the Lost Footage Club, our private community where members share their own disturbing finds. The link is in the description. I, 37 male, can't drive out of my hometown anymore. Every road loops me back to the square by sunset. 3 days ago, this post went up. The OP has not logged off since. I'm 37, male, a physical therapist. 6 months ago, I signed a contract to rehab patients at the community college clinic in the rural Pennsylvania town I grew up in. The job pays well because nobody wants it. There are no rentals here, not one, so the college put me in an empty freshman dorm. I live alone on a hallway built for 40 kids. The vending machine hums all night. I'm posting this from that dorm room. I need someone to tell me I'm losing it, because the alternative is worse. Every Friday after my last patient, I try to drive out of town for the weekend. My older brother Marcus lives 2 hours east. I have not made it to his house once. The first time, 3 weekends ago, I took Route 6 east. I remember merging, I remember the radio, I remember thinking about what to pick up for dinner. Then headlights washed over my windshield from the wrong direction, and I was rolling into the town square at dusk. The clock on the bank said 7:14. I told myself I'd zoned out. Long week, it happens. The second time I took the Southern County Road, deliberately, because it doesn't even connect back to town without a 30-minute detour. Same thing. Trees, then dusk, then the square. 7-Eleven this time. I sat in the car shaking and ate a granola bar and drove back to the dorm. Twice could be exhaustion. The third time is when the numbers stopped lying for him. Last Friday, I tried again. Interstate on-ramp, north, toward Erie. I set a podcast going. I drank water so I wouldn't get drowsy. I remember the on-ramp. I remember a blue pickup ahead of me. I came back to myself parked in front of the square fountain. 6:58 p.m. I checked the odometer before I left. I checked it again sitting there. 140 miles exactly. The gas gauge had not moved, not a needle's width. 140 miles on no fuel, ending in the same parking spot I always end up in. My phone had a voicemail. Marcus, timestamped 4:12 that afternoon, 11 minutes long. He was thanking me for calling him, saying it was good to hear my voice, saying he was glad I sounded so relaxed about staying put. He said, quote, "I'm proud of you for finally settling in." I never called him. I have no memory of calling him. The call log shows the outgoing call, 4:01 p.m., duration 11 minutes 34 seconds. I don't know who was driving my car for those 2 hours. I don't know who was using my voice. Stay with him. It gets worse on Monday morning when the coffee shows up. So here's what's happened since I posted. I tried twice more. I want to write it down before I forget any of it, because I am starting to suspect that forgetting is part of the problem. Attempt 4 was Saturday morning, not even a weekend trip, just a grocery run to the Walmart one town over. 22 miles. I took the back highway, the one with the covered bridge. I remember the bridge. I remember the smell of the river underneath it. I remember thinking, good, I'm past the town line now, this is fine. Next clear memory? Parking brake clicking on, my hand on it, the square fountain in front of me. Dusk again, 6:53. No groceries in the back seat. My wallet was still zipped into my jacket pocket, unopened. Attempt 5 was Sunday. I told myself I'd just drive to the town line and stop. Don't cross, just look. I took the old county road north, the one that dead ends at a cattle gate about half a mile past the sign. I made it to the sign. I saw it. Welcome to, the name, population, whatever. I took my foot off the gas to coast up to it slow. I came to in the square. Dusk. 6:59. I have not crossed the town line in 23 days. And someone has been bringing him coffee every morning, with a smile, like nothing is wrong. The coffee. I have to mention the coffee, because it's the only thing that stayed consistent through all of this. Olivia, my childhood friend, works at the bakery across from the clinic. She and I used to ride bikes to the reservoir when we were 9. She heard I was back in town within about a day of me arriving, and ever since, she brings me a paper cup of coffee at 7:45 every morning. Black, 2 sugars, exactly how I took it in high school. She remembers. It's sweet. It was sweet. I mentioned the driving thing to her on Monday, tried to play it casual. She laughed, the same laugh she's had since we were kids, and said, "Oh, honey, that's just small-town gravity. Everybody who leaves comes back. You're home now. Drink your coffee." I called Marcus that night, my brother, the one who got the voicemail I don't remember leaving. I told him I think something is wrong with me, maybe a seizure disorder, maybe early dementia, I don't know. His voice on the phone was flat and warm at the same time, like a customer service rep reading from a script. He said, "Aaron, just relax. You're finally settled. Stop fighting it. Enjoy being home." He has never in 37 years told me to stop fighting anything. I'm writing this from the dorm. It's 11 at night. Tomorrow morning, Olivia will bring me coffee at 7:45. I'm going to take it. I'm going to drink it in front of her and smile. Then on Friday, I'm going to prop my phone on the dashboard, set it to record video, and drive toward the town line one more time. Whatever is happening to me between the sign and the square, I want to see it. If I don't post again, somebody please call the state police in my county. I'll put the name in a comment. He posted the video 4 days later. What he saw on the playback is in the next part. I propped the phone on the dashboard Friday morning, wedged it into the vent so it had a clean shot of me in the windshield, hit record, drove north on the county road. I've watched the video 4 times now. I'm going to describe it because I cannot bring myself to upload it. For the first 8 minutes, it's just me driving. I look tired. I talk to the camera a little, narrating, saying things like, "Okay, approaching the sign, here we go." At minute 9, I reach the sign. I slow down. I pull over onto the shoulder, smooth and casual, like I'd planned to all along. I put the car in park. Then I sit there. For 41 minutes. I do not move. I do not blink that I can see. My hands stay on the wheel at 10 and 2. My face on the video is completely blank, mouth slightly open, eyes pointed at the dashboard. At minute 50, I take my hands off the wheel, smile at nothing, put the car in drive, do a clean 3-point turn, and start driving back toward town. About a minute after the turn, I start humming. I do not recognize the tune. It is not something I know. It sounds like a lullaby, slow and 4 notes repeating. The video ends when I park in the square. I reach forward and tap the screen myself to stop the recording. I have no memory of any of it. Other things while I'm cataloging. Ethan, a former patient of mine, knee replacement last spring, stands on the corner of Maple and 2nd every evening at 6:15 and waves at me when I drive past. Every evening. Same corner, same wave. The dorm RA, a kid I have spoken to maybe twice, has started leaving covered plates outside my door. Meatloaf, pot roast. A note that just says, "Thought you might be hungry." I pulled my contract out of the drawer to reread it. The signature page has my signature on 3 lines I never signed. The dates are from last month. Yesterday I told Olivia I was cutting back on caffeine and waved off the coffee. By 10 in the morning, I had a migraine so violent I threw up in the clinic bathroom between patients. She brought me a fresh cup at noon. The headache was gone in 20 minutes. I am posting this because I do not know what else to do. The thread blew up overnight. 2 comments rose to the top. Backroads Betty commented, "Mate, check your odometer and your trip meter next time. If the miles are racking up but you keep ending up downtown, someone or something is rerouting you while you're zoned out. That's a fugue, not a haunting." Lurker with Thoughts commented, "The voicemail you don't remember answering is the scariest line in this post, and you kind of glossed over it. What did your brother actually say on it?" And the original poster replied, "I left it out because it didn't make sense in the post, but you're right, it matters." Marcus said, quote, "I'm glad you're settling in. Olivia says you're doing great. Don't fight it, okay?" I didn't tell Marcus I'd even met up with Olivia again. I haven't spoken to him on purpose in almost 4 months. Olive in Ohio commented, "I want to believe this is sleep deprivation and a weird coincidence with the roads, but the part about your friend being the only person you confided in is making my stomach hurt. Please update." 6 days after the original post, the update went up. I found what's in the coffee and who's been making it. I took the comment about checking what I was drinking seriously. I have an old college friend who runs an analytical chemistry lab in Maryland. I told her I needed a favor, no questions, just run a panel. Monday morning, I took the coffee from Olivia like always. I drank exactly 2 sips in front of her, smiled, said thank you. The rest, I poured into a sealed sample bottle in my desk drawer the second she left. I dropped it at a FedEx box on the edge of town that afternoon, then made myself throw up in the dorm bathroom and drink a liter of water. Wednesday night, my friend called me. She did not say hi. She said, "Aaron, who is giving this to you?" The cup had a benzodiazepine, an over-the-counter antihistamine, in roughly 4 times a normal dose, and trace amounts of a compound she said is used in veterinary pre-anesthesia. She said, in combination, this is a cocktail designed to make somebody pliable and amnesic for short windows. She said, "You have been drinking this. How often?" "Every morning, for almost 6 months." I confronted Olivia Thursday at the bakery, after close. I locked the front door behind me. I put the lab report on the counter between us. She did not deny it. She started crying before I finished the first sentence. She said, I'm so sorry. You weren't supposed to figure it out. Nobody ever figures it out." She told me there are 6 of them. Not a cult, she said, like that made it better. Just neighbors. A pharmacist, a couple of nurses, the vet, her, and one more she would not name. They identify people the town needs, professionals, the kind of jobs nobody local can fill. They arrange the contract. They arrange the housing. They keep them docile around the town line so the contracts always renew. Then she said the part I am still trying to process. She said, "Marcus called me last spring. He told me you were coming back. He told me what you drank in high school. He asked me to take care of you. My brother set this up. My brother has known the whole time." The comments came in fast. 2 stood out. Gravel Trucker commented, 40-year trucker. There is no road network in rural PA where every single route loops you back to one square. That's not geography. Someone is moving you. Moth to Porchlight commented, small towns that have no rentals but somehow have a job waiting for you are not small towns. They're staffed positions. PA Native chimed in, this. The clinic job, the dorm room, the friend who reappears the week you arrive. That's a package, not a coincidence. Someone built the landing pad before he ever drove in.
One more edit went up 2 days later. It is the last thing the account ever posted.
Final edit. I am writing this from the dorm so somebody knows. After the update, I stopped drinking the coffee entirely. Poured every cup straight down the sink the moment Olivia left. 3 days of migraines, shaking hands, throwing up bile. On day 4, my head went quiet for the first time in 6 months. Quiet like a window opening. I packed a backpack. Water, granola, my wallet, a paper map I bought at the gas station with cash because I do not trust my phone anymore. I did not take the car. The car is part of it. I left the dorm at 4:45 in the morning, before the bakery lights came on, and walked to the old rail trail behind the high school. The trail runs north out of the valley for about 40 miles. No road crossings for the first 20. I walked. The sun came up. I kept walking. At mile 6, my thoughts started feeling like mine again, the way mine sounded when I lived in Pittsburgh. At mile 9, I started crying and could not stop for about half a mile. I was going to make it. I was actually going to make it. At mile 11, I heard the engine behind me on the trail. The rail trail. There is no road on the rail trail. It was a county maintenance pickup, yellow, idling at walking pace about 30 feet back. Ethan was driving. My former patient. Knee replacement last spring. He had his window down and he was smiling at me the way he smiled in the clinic when his range of motion came back. He said, "Hey Aaron, Olivia called. She was worried about you." I do not remember the next part. I came to in the dorm bed. My boots were off and lined up by the door. My backpack was unpacked, everything folded, the paper map gone. On the desk was my contract, renewed for another year, countersigned by the clinic director and by me. The signature is mine. It is my actual signature. I did not sign it. Olivia brought coffee at 7:45 this morning. I drank it. I do not know how to not drink it. There is no version of tomorrow morning where I am not in this town. I am posting this so that when I stop posting, somebody remembers I tried. One commenter, Clinical Trash, said, "PT here too. The coffee detail is sticking with me. If someone's been bringing you the same drink every shift for 6 months, stop drinking it tomorrow and see how you feel by Wednesday. Withdrawal will tell you everything." In the comments, someone wrote, "This account hasn't posted in 3 weeks. Has anyone in PA tried to find this guy? Please, somebody." On to the next one. My smart lock keeps logging "opened by code," but the door is bolted from the inside. Some apartments cost less for a reason. I'm 35, male, and I translate literary fiction for a living. German to English mostly, with the occasional French side project when rent is tight. The point is, I work from home. All day, every day. Which matters because I notice things about my apartment most people would miss. 3 months ago, I moved into the top floor of a converted warehouse on the east side of the city. It's a weird unit. Rooftop access, slanted ceilings, one enormous north-facing window that gives me the kind of soft, flat light translators dream about. It was cheap because the layout is awkward and the elevator stops 1 floor below mine. You have to take the stairs the last flight. I have a dog, a 6-year-old shepherd mix named Beans, and she didn't mind the stairs, and I didn't mind the price, so I signed for a year. There's only one other unit stacked under mine on that side of the building. The guy who lives there is named Tyler. We've spoken maybe 4 times. Nods in the stairwell. He works nights at a hospital, I think. Quiet neighbor. Best kind. Because I travel for the occasional translator residency, and because Beans needs a sitter when I do, I installed a smart lock about a week after moving in. Standard model, the kind everybody has. You can issue temporary guest codes through the app, revoke them, see a log of every time the door opens and who opened it. Convenient. I set up 2 codes, one for me, one labeled sitter. That's it, 2 codes total. For the first month, nothing strange. Then the pings started. Little notifications on my phone. Opened by code. Always between 3 and 4 in the morning. I'd wake up, check, see the deadbolt still thrown from the inside, shrug, blame the app, go back to sleep. Beans never reacted. I figured it was a glitch in the firmware. Everyone I know with one of these locks has at least one story about phantom notifications. Until the night he was awake to see it happen. Last Tuesday, I was up late finishing a chapter. Around 2 in the morning, I walked into the kitchen to refill my water. The front door is maybe 2 meters from the kitchen counter. I was standing there, glass in hand, looking right at the door because Beans had lifted her head from her bed and was also looking at it. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. The lock app was open on the notification. Opened by code, guest 02, 2:17 in the morning. The deadbolt was visibly thrown. I could see the brass tab from where I was standing. The door had not moved. Beans was staring at it with her ears flat against her skull, not growling, just watching, the way she watches a squirrel she can't reach. I have never created a guest 02. There is no guest 02. There are 2 codes on that lock, and I know both of them by heart. I stood in the kitchen with my water glass until the sun came up. His first instinct, like anyone's, was that the machine was lying. The next morning, I went full troubleshooting mode. I'm a translator, not an engineer, but I've spent enough years debugging weird software handoffs to know the steps. App glitch, firmware bug, Bluetooth interference from somebody downstairs running a smart hub on the same frequency. Some kid in the building cycling through default codes from a YouTube tutorial. Any of these would have made me feel like a person again. I uninstalled the app, reinstalled it, factory reset the lock itself, held the little button under the battery cover until it chirped twice and went dead, pulled it off the door, brought it to my desk under the good light, opened the housing, looked at the wiring. Nothing scorched, nothing loose. I reseated everything, mounted it back up, paired it fresh. Then I deleted every code in the system, both of them. Created exactly 1 new master code for myself, a long one, 10 digits, nothing personal, nothing I'd written down. No guest codes, none. The app showed a clean slate, 1 user, me, 0 guests. I wrote a long, polite email to the manufacturer's support line with timestamps and screenshots of the phantom log entries. They responded the next day with a template apology and a suggestion to factory reset the lock, which I had already done. I replied. They sent the same template back, signed by a different name. For 2 nights, nothing. I slept, Beans slept. I started to feel slightly embarrassed about the whole thing, the way you do when a problem fixes itself and you suspect you imagined half of it. On the 3rd night, at 3:41 in the morning, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Opened by code, guest 02. The lock had no guests. The lock had been wiped. The lock did not care. After that, the pings came back on a schedule. Always between 3 and 4. Always guest 02. Some nights 1 ping, some nights 3 or 4 spaced minutes apart, like somebody coming and going. Beans figured it out before I did. She started waking me up about 10 minutes before each ping. She'd hop off the bed, pad down the hall, and stand in the entryway facing the front door. Not barking. A low, rolling growl in her chest, the kind she usually reserves for raccoons on the fire escape. Hackles up along her spine in a stiff ridge, ears flat, tail low and still. And the door would be bolted. Every time. I'd walk up behind her in my socks, phone in hand, and watch the brass tab of the deadbolt sitting in its slot, solid, untouched, while the app on my screen quietly announced that someone had just unlocked it. There is a specific sound the lock app plays when it logs an open event, a soft mechanical click, sampled from a real deadbolt. I started hearing that click in the dark while staring at the physical bolt that had not moved. Like a tooth that won't come out no matter how hard you push it with your tongue. The click belonged to a door that wasn't there. I started sleeping with a claw hammer on the floor beside the bed. Not because I thought a hammer would help, because reaching down and touching the handle was the only thing that let me close my eyes again. If the door wouldn't betray itself, he'd make it watched. I bought a cheap baby monitor camera, the kind with infrared, and clamped it to the bookshelf in the entryway. Lens square on the door, recording to a memory card on a loop, every night, dusk to dawn. I told myself, either I catch something on video and I have proof, or I catch nothing and I have peace. I got nothing and no peace. 18 days of footage. I scrubbed through every morning at fast forward, coffee in hand, eyes burning. The door never moves. The bolt never moves. The frame never flexes. The only thing that happens is Beans, occasionally, standing up from her bed off camera, walking into frame, planting herself 2 feet from the door, and staring. Sometimes for a minute, sometimes for 10. Then she'd lie back down and the timestamp would keep rolling, and nothing else would happen until sunrise. Meanwhile, the log kept filling. I started counting. In 18 days, the app recorded 41 separate opened by code events. 41. All guest 02. All between 3 and 4 in the morning. The door, on video, motionless for every single one. I called Cody. We've been friends since college, almost 15 years. He builds little circuit projects in his garage on weekends, the kind of guy who actually enjoys reading a datasheet. I told him the whole thing, expecting him to laugh and walk me through what I was missing. He came over that Saturday with a toolkit and a laptop, pulled the lock off the door again, probed every contact, sniffed the wireless traffic, ran the firmware against a checksum from the manufacturer's site. Clean. Wiring fine. No tampering. Nothing physically wrong with the unit at all. But while he was watching the network logs, he frowned and turned the laptop toward me. The lock, he said, was occasionally trying to pair with a device on the local mesh that wasn't anything of mine. Not my phone, not my router, not the camera. Something with a manufacturer prefix his lookup tool didn't recognize. He leaned back, rubbed his face, and said, half joking, that I had a ghost router somewhere in the walls. I did not laugh. The comments started rolling in before the night did. A user named Salt and Static wrote, Smart locks log opened by code when the motor cycles, not necessarily when the bolt physically retracts. If the motor is firing on its own, something is sending it the unlock signal. That is the part you need to chase. A user named Haldol Knights wrote, "I work in building security. The fact that the logs predate your move-in is the real story. Ask the previous tenant why they left. I bet they will not answer the phone twice." One comment pointed out, "The guest 2 thing is what would end me. You never created a guest 2. Who did and when?" And the original poster replied, "Guest 02 was already in the app when the installer handed it to me. I asked, he said it was a template profile and harmless, and I believed him because I wanted to. After I posted this, I tried to delete it and the app threw an error I have never seen before. It is still there." 4 days later, his own job answered the question for him. "I found the original building plans and I am not okay. I need to write this down while my hands still work the keyboard normally." A small local historical society reached out to me about a week ago through my professional listing. They had a stack of warehouse records from the 1970s, mostly in German, that nobody could read. Shipping manifests, internal memos, a couple of incident reports. They wanted a clean English translation for an archive project. Easy money, interesting period? I said yes. To do the work right, I asked for context materials. They sent over scans of the original building plans, the floor-by-floor industrial layout from before the conversion. I opened the file at my desk on a Tuesday afternoon with coffee and beans asleep on my feet. I recognized my own apartment in the third drawing. Except in 1977, my apartment wasn't an apartment. The footprint of my unit, the exact shape of these slanted ceilings, sits directly on top of what the plans label as the head house of a freight elevator. The shaft ran the full height of the building. The door on the rooftop level was a heavy industrial gate, mechanically operated, with a control panel mounted in the wall beside it. According to the conversion documents I translated next, that shaft was sealed and plastered over in 1978. The gate was left in place, behind the wall, because removing it would have compromised the structure. The gate is still there. About 40 centimeters behind the drywall my smart lock is bolted to. I called the manufacturer and asked for a full export of the cloud log history for my unit's hardware ID. Not just my account, the whole device, from manufacture date forward. They sent it within an hour, probably hoping I would shut up. The log goes back 4 years. I have lived here 3 months. There are open by code entries for guest 02 going back to the week the lock was first activated, under 3 different previous tenants. Same time window, same guest, same door. It has been using that gate the whole time. I am just the first person who noticed. The comment section heard it before he did. Someone in the replies added, "Your dog reacting before the app pings is the detail that made me stop scrolling. Dogs hear the motor wind up. Whatever is triggering it, it is happening in your walls first." One commenter, Oat Milk Oracle, said, "The freight elevator detail unlocked something in my chest and I do not like it. Those shafts were never really sealed, they were just hidden. The air still moves through them." Someone in the replies added, "Old industrial conversions are full of dead wiring that nobody mapped. I have seen doorbells in renovated warehouses ring because a forklift 2 buildings over hit a frequency. Not saying it is nothing, just saying the building might be louder than your landlord admits." Someone else added, "Sure, but stray current does not create a named guest profile, and it does not cycle a lock motor on a schedule. Something in that building is using the system the way it was designed to be used. That is not noise, that is a user." He didn't argue with the building anymore. He just left it. I packed in 3 days. I told myself I would do it methodically, room by room, the way a responsible adult breaks a lease. What actually happened is I shoved clothes into duffel bags, threw my laptop and my hard drives and Beans' food into the car, and left almost everything else. The couch is still there. The bookshelf with the camera clamped to it is still there. The good north-facing window I picked the place for is still there. The smart lock is still on the door, still pinging, still logging guest 02 for whoever moves in next. I emailed the landlord from a rest stop. Subject line, breaking lease, keep the deposit, will pay the penalty, do not call me. He called me. I did not pick up. The penalty came out to almost 2 months of rent, and I paid it the same afternoon without looking at the number twice. I have been crashing at Cody's since. He cleared out his office for me, set up a folding cot, put a bowl of water down for beans without being asked. He has not made one joke about ghost routers. Not one. That is how I know he believes me. The problem is I cannot work at night anymore. I used to do my best translation between 10 in the evening and 2 in the morning, the quiet hours, the hours that made me pick that rooftop in the first place. Now, any soft mechanical sound after dark and I am on my feet in the dark with the dog already at the door. The fridge cycling on, the radiator ticking as it cools, a neighbor 2 units over closing their bathroom latch. Beans growls at blank walls, and I stand behind her with my hands shaking and wait for the click that does not come. I think part of my hearing belongs to that apartment now. I think I left it behind in the walls with everything else, and it is still listening for the gate. In the comments, someone wrote, "Please tell me you are not still sleeping there." Tyler from B commented, "Derek, it is your downstairs neighbor. I saw this post tonight and I have to tell you. Some nights I would hear what sounded like a metal gate rolling open above my ceiling, slow. Then the same sound closing maybe a minute later. I always figured it was you doing something on the roof and I never asked. I am sorry. I am moving out at the end of the month." On to the next one. The conductor on my night train clipped a ticket from my dead father. Some trains still run on schedules nobody updated. I'm Natalie, 24, and I work at the little library in the village where my sister Sophie and I grew up. Sophie is 19 and still lives with me in the same drafty house our mother left us. We don't have much family left, which is part of why I'm writing this from a seat on the 1140 regional service, 3 hours north, heading to a coastal town I've only ever seen in 2 photographs. My great-aunt Laura lives up there. She's the last person who knew my father before he vanished in 2003. I was 3 years old. I don't remember him at all, just the shape of someone tall in a doorway, and even that might be borrowed from a picture. For 21 years, nobody in the family has been willing to talk about him. Laura wrote me a letter last month, her handwriting shaky, saying if I ever wanted to ask, I should come soon. So here I am. The train is one of the old ones. Burgundy velvet seats, brass luggage rails, the kind of carriage where the windows still drop on a leather strap. Almost empty. The seat beside mine is unoccupied, my coat folded across it. Outside, there's nothing but black fields and the occasional level crossing blinking past. The conductor came through about 20 minutes ago. Older man, neat gray mustache, the sort of kind face you trust without thinking. He clipped my ticket, handed it back, then paused. He looked at the empty seat next to me. He smiled, very politely, and clipped a second ticket from his book. "And one for the gentleman traveling with you, miss," he said. He set it down on the velvet beside my coat. The name printed on it was my father's. Full name, middle name, and all. She hadn't said a word about him to anyone on that train. I sat there for what felt like a full minute with my mouth open. By the time I managed, "Wait, sorry, that isn't..." The conductor was already 3 rows ahead, swaying gently with the carriage, clipping nothing for anyone else because there was no one else to clip. The door at the end hissed, and he was gone into the next car. I picked up the ticket. It was real. Stiff, cream cardstock, the kind I haven't seen since I was a kid. A neat, round hole punched through the corner. Today's date printed in faded black ink. The seat number was the one beside me, down to the carriage letter. And the name. His full name, the middle one nobody outside the family ever uses. The one that isn't even on his old driving license because he hated it. I got up. I walked the whole length of the train, 6 carriages, holding that ticket like it might bite. Most seats empty. A man asleep against a window. 2 students sharing earbuds. Nobody had seen a mustached conductor come through. The attendant in the rear carriage was a young woman in a navy waistcoat, maybe my age, reading a paperback. I described him. She lowered the book very slowly and said, "It's just me tonight. There's no second conductor on this service." She wasn't being cagey. She looked at me like she was trying to work out if I was drunk. I went back to my seat. The ticket was where I'd left it on the velvet. I touched it without thinking. It was warm. Not body warm exactly. The warmth a mug leaves on a table after you've moved it. The next station was 11 minutes away. I tried to talk myself down. prank, I thought. Some retired railway employee with a punch in his pocket and a sick sense of humor. A clerical mix-up. An old reservation that never got purged from the system. Coincidence stacked on coincidence. But the middle name. Nobody guesses a middle name. I texted Sophie. I told her what happened, photographed both tickets side by side, sent the picture. The 3 dots appeared almost instantly. She was still up. Her reply came in 2 short bursts. Nat, get off at the next stop. I'm serious. Get off. Get a hotel. Come home in the morning. I stared at the messages. I thought about Aunt Laura's shaky handwriting, the line in her letter that said, "Come soon." I thought about being 3 years old and not remembering a face. I thought about how I had taken 2 days off work and a friend was covering my Saturday shift at the library, and I had wanted this for 21 years. The train slowed for the next stop. The doors chimed. I watched them open onto an empty rural platform, 1 orange lamp, a bench, nothing else. I watched them close again. I stayed in my seat. The ticket stayed in mine. The train pulled in at 4:45. The sky was that bruised color just before sunrise, and the air on the platform hit me like a wet towel. Salt, diesel, kelp. Gulls were already arguing somewhere above the station roof. I had both tickets zipped into the front pocket of my coat. The town looked like nothing had moved in 50 years. Painted shop fronts, a chapel with a slate roof, the smell of bread already coming from somewhere. A place held under glass. I walked the harbor road toward Laura's cottage. Halfway up the hill, there's a little stone memorial set into the wall outside the station house. I have passed it twice before on previous visits and never read it. This morning I stopped. 17 names. A derailment. The 8th of November, 1998. Local rail tragedy. The plaque was weathered, the lettering filled with gray lichen. My father's name was not on it. I read every line twice to be sure, but something about it sat wrong. The dates. He would have been 28 in November of 98. 5 years before he vanished. 5 years before the year that anyone in my family was willing to put on a sentence. I stood there long enough that the gulls started ignoring me. Laura's porch light was already on. I hadn't told her I was getting in this early. I hadn't even texted from the train. But the cottage door opened before my knuckles touched the wood. Laura was dressed. Properly dressed. Skirt, cardigan buttoned to the throat, hair pinned. At 5 in the morning. She looked like she had been sitting in the hallway for hours, maybe since the letter went in the post. Her face was the color of the inside of a shell. "Come in, love," she said, but she did not move out of the doorway. I had the second ticket in my hand without meaning to take it out. I had been holding it the whole walk up the hill. She looked at it. Her eyes did not widen. They closed. Her knees went. I caught her elbow and her whole weight came down on my forearm, no warning, like a coat slipping off a hook. I half walked her into the front room and onto the settee. She would not let go of my wrist. "He clipped one, didn't he?" she whispered. Not a question. "Oh, Natalie, he clipped one." I asked her who. I asked her what she meant. She just kept saying my name and shaking her head, and the early light came in pink through the lace curtains, and somewhere in the kitchen a kettle started to whistle that she must have put on before I arrived. One commenter, Rails and Relics, said, "Former regional rail employee here. Conductors used to be issued a ghost book for unclaimed seats after major incidents. The names were supposed to be retired by 1990. If he punched a name, that name is still in an active book somewhere." A top comment reads, "My grandmother was from a village near that coastline. There was a derailment everyone in the family refused to talk about. When I asked once at Christmas, my uncle left the room and did not come back that night." Paper Lantern commented, "OP, the second ticket. Did the conductor charge you for it, or was it already paid?" The reply to that was, "Already paid." He said the words, "season fare, settled," and moved on down the carriage. I did not understand what that meant until Laura told me tonight that my father held a monthly season ticket the week he disappeared. Nobody ever canceled it. Someone has been renewing it for 21 years. Late that same night, she came back with an update nobody wanted to read. There is a car at the end of the lane, and Sophie is not picking up. I'm writing this from Laura's kitchen table. It's almost midnight. There is a half-empty bottle of whiskey between us, and she has finally stopped shaking enough to talk. She has told me everything. I'll try to put it down the way she said it, because if I stop to feel it, I won't finish. The derailment in November of '98, 17 dead. My father was on that train. He was 28. He was not supposed to be on it. He had told my mother he was at a conference 2 counties away. He was traveling with someone. Laura would not tell me who, only that it would have ended the family in a different way. After the crash, before the lists were finalized, my grandfather and 2 other men from this town drove up to the rail company offices with an envelope. The amount Laura named made me put my glass down. They scrubbed his name from the manifest. They put him back on a platform he had never stood on. For 5 more years he came home, ate dinners, picked me up from nursery, while the town quietly agreed he had never been on that train. Laura said the word they used among themselves was lent. He had been lent back. In 2003, the loan came due. That's how she said it. He did not vanish. He was returned. The conductor is not haunting me. Laura was very clear about this. He is doing his job. He punches a ticket every time someone connected to the manifest travels that line, because the books have never been corrected. He is polite about it. He is ringing a small bell for everyone in this town who buried what they buried. I was going to drive home at first light. I can't now. There is a black estate car parked at the end of the lane, headlights off. It pulled up about 40 minutes ago, and nobody has got out. From the kitchen window, I can just see the shape of it under the last streetlight. Sophie isn't picking up. It's gone straight to voicemail twice in a row. She always answers me. Always. Laura has gone upstairs. I can hear a suitcase being dragged across floorboards. One comment pointed out, the detail that got me is that he was polite about it, not menacing, just doing his job. That is so much worse. A top comment reads, the fact that your great aunt was scared you came, not surprised, tells you everything. She has been waiting 21 years for someone to knock. One comment pointed out, do not sleep at Laura's tonight. Drive to a hotel 2 towns over and post the next update from there. The ticket under the door is a deadline, not a threat. One comment pointed out, agreed, and take Laura with her. Whoever has been paying that season fare for 2 decades is local, has money, and just found out a librarian came north asking questions. They are not going to wait until morning. It is just past 3 in the morning. I am writing this on my phone in the dark in Laura's front room. I have turned every light off. The car at the end of the lane is still there. It has been just over 2 hours now. Black estate car, the kind with a long boot. No interior light has come on, not once. No cigarette glow, no door opening. I can see the front grille catching a little of the street lamp where the lane bends, and that is all. Whoever is in it is content to sit. I tried Sophie again 10 minutes ago. It does not even ring now. Straight to voicemail, that flat double beep before the recording. Earlier it rang 4 times before dropping. Now nothing. I called the woman who lives 2 doors down from us back home and asked her to please, please walk over and knock. She said she would put her coat on. That was 40 minutes ago, and she has not called me back either. Upstairs I can hear Laura. She has been packing the same bag for an hour. I keep hearing the same drawer open and close, the same wardrobe hinge. I think the bag has been packed for 26 years, and she is only now allowed to lift it. I have both train tickets on the table in front of me, mine and his. They are still slightly warm. I do not know how that is possible. They have been here since this morning. I keep thinking about what Laura said. He was returned. Not vanished, returned, like a borrowed book. A few minutes ago I heard a soft sound at the front door. Not a knock, a sliding sound, paper on wood. There is a folded ticket on the mat. I went and picked it up. I am looking at it now. It is freshly punched. The hole still has a little cardboard crescent hanging from it. The date printed on it is tomorrow's. There are 2 seat numbers. There are 2 names. Mine and Sophie's. I just heard footsteps on the gravel path. Slow ones. Coming up to the door, not going away. I do not know if I should open it or if I should. A user named Trevor WH wrote, "Please do not go further north until Sophie picks up. Call a neighbor to physically knock on your door. I am not joking." A top comment reads, "I grew up on a line that had a courtesy seat tradition for passengers who died en route. The railway stopped it officially decades ago. If it is still happening on your line, someone never filed the paperwork to end it. On purpose." The post stops there. On to the next one. My garage sale typewriter prints back a line every morning while I sleep. 5 days ago, a freelance proofreader named Spencer posted this. He has not slept properly since. I'm 26, I proofread manuscripts from home, and I live in my mom's condo on the cheap side of town because freelance money is freelance money. I also chase estate sales on weekends with a buddy of mine, Caleb. Old books, old desks, old fountain pens. That's the hobby. It's how this started. 2 Saturdays ago, we hit a sale 2 towns over. Nothing great. I left around midnight, alone, took the highway, and somewhere past the second exit, my GPS told me to turn onto a county road I'd never seen. I figured shortcut. It wasn't. It was 40 minutes of black asphalt and tall corn and not a single other set of headlights. Around 2 in the morning, I came up on a closed gas station. Pumps dark, windows dark, the kind of place you only notice because there's a man standing in front of it. He had a pickup truck pulled up sideways, tailgate down, and a few items laid out in the bed under a battery lantern, like he was running a yard sale at 2 a.m. in the middle of nowhere. I should have kept driving. I slowed down instead. Most of what he had was junk, cracked dishes, a fishing reel, a boot, but there was a typewriter in a sealed cardboard box, taped at every seam, an Olivetti from the look of the printing. He said $40. I gave him $40. He didn't speak much. He kept looking past me, down the road I'd come from, like he was waiting on somebody behind me. When I took the box, he held the other end for a second longer than he needed to and said quietly, "You sure?" I laughed and said, "Yeah." He never asked my name. I never gave it. That detail matters. Remember it. I got home around 3:30. Mom was asleep. I brought the box up to my room, cut the tape, and the Olivetti inside was beautiful. Clean keys, fresh ribbon, the carriage smooth. I rolled in a page from a manuscript I was proofreading, a chapter I'd already marked up in red pencil, just to test the feed. Typed one line, "Hello there," to check the ribbon. It printed clean. I went to bed. The next morning, I woke up around 10. The page was still in the carriage. Under my red proofreading marks, in fresh black ink, a new sentence had been typed across the bottom margin. Crisp, even, not by me. It said, "You took the long way back, Spencer." I stood there in my pajamas reading it over and over. My mom doesn't know how to use a typewriter. My mom was asleep before I got home. Caleb lives 40 minutes away and doesn't have a key. The condo door was locked, the window was locked, and I had never, at any point that night, told that man on the county road my name. I tried to be a reasonable person about this. I really did. First theory, sleepwalking. I've never done it in my life, but fine, brains are weird. Except, I don't know how to touch type on a manual typewriter half asleep, hit the right keys evenly, and put a clean period at the end. The line was too neat. The kerning was too consistent. It looked like a sentence somebody who used typewriters every day had typed. Second theory, my mom. She's in her early 60s, retired, sweet, and bored. I asked her over breakfast, as casually as I could, if she'd been messing with my new toy. She looked at me like I'd asked if she'd been flying a helicopter off the balcony. "Honey," she said, "I don't even know which end the paper goes in." She's not lying. She still asks me to print her boarding passes. Third theory, Caleb, my estate sale buddy, pranking me somehow. Except Caleb doesn't have a key, the door was bolted from the inside, and Caleb's idea of comedy is sending me cursed Craigslist listings at midnight, not breaking and entering to type one sentence in cursive flat Olivetti font. So I did what any rational adult does. I set up my phone on the dresser, propped against a stack of books, framed straight at the carriage, and hit record before bed. I left a fresh page in, a real one this time, a client chapter, due Friday. I watched the footage in the morning with coffee. 2 hours of nothing. My room, dim, the typewriter still. Then, at 4:06 a.m., the keys started moving. No hand, no shadow. The little type bars rising and falling in sequence like somebody who knew exactly what they wanted to say. The carriage return slid back on its own. 11 seconds, beginning to end. Then stillness again until my alarm. The new line, under my red marks on a chapter about a divorce attorney in Cleveland, said, "The pancakes at the diner were better than you remembered." I had stopped at a diner on the drive home that night. I'd ordered pancakes. I hadn't told a single living person about it. Spencer started counting the things he hadn't told anyone. It happened again the next night. "You kept skipping that one song on the radio." True. There's a track my ex used to love and I hit next every time it comes on. I'd done it twice on the drive back. And the next. "Your red pencil is getting short, Spencer." I looked at the cup on my desk. It was. My proofreading work is wrecked. Every morning I have to retype the client page from scratch because I can't exactly email a literary agent a manuscript with a ghost annotation in the footer. I'm burning hours I don't have. I missed a deadline last week for the first time in 3 years and had to invent a stomach bug. I called Caleb, told him everything. He laughed for a solid 30 seconds, called me a baby, and said, "Dude, just list the thing on Marketplace. Somebody'll give you $60 for it. Problem solved." I told him I'd already tried unplugging it, except it has nothing to plug in. It's a manual typewriter from 1970-something, and that's the part that's bothering me most. It doesn't need power. It doesn't need me awake. It only needs the page I touched last to still be in the carriage when the room goes quiet. The lines stopped being about the drive. "Your mother left her reading glasses on the kitchen counter again. You had the leftover rice for dinner. She had the soup. She's watching that British baking show. The tall one is going to win." I checked the kitchen counter. Glasses, right there next to the fruit bowl. I checked the TV. Mom in her chair, blanket over her knees, the tall baker pulling something out of the oven. None of these things had been said out loud. The blinds were closed. The condo is on the 4th floor. There is no line of sight in. I moved the typewriter to the hall closet and shut the door. The next morning, the page I'd left in the carriage had a new line on it. "The closet smells like cedar. You should vacuum in here." I moved it to the trunk of my car, parked in the underground garage. I left a fresh sheet in it, locked the trunk, locked the car, went upstairs. The next morning, the sheet had a line. "Your spare tire is low." It only types when I'm asleep. It only types on the page I touched last. Distance does not matter. Locks do not matter. The closet did not matter, and neither did the trunk. I stopped sleeping properly about 4 days in. I'd lie there listening for the ceiling, the hallway, the parking garage, like I could catch it on the way to wherever it does its thing. Mom started watching me at breakfast. "Spencer, sweetheart, you look gray. Are you eating?" I told her work was rough. She put extra eggs on my plate and kept watching. I broke down and called my cousin Emily. She's 8 years older, no patience for nonsense, the kind of person who tells you to take the trash out before you finished your sentence. I told her everything. There was a long pause, then she said, "Spencer, drive it to a lake. A real one. Cinder block, rope, throw it off a dock. Do it tomorrow." I told her I would. I haven't yet. I don't know why. That's when I decided to post here. I need somebody to tell me I'm losing it. Or that I'm not. I genuinely cannot tell which answer would be worse. The thread blew up overnight. A few comments hit harder than the rest. Someone in the replies added, "Burn it. Not metaphorically. Take it to a fire pit. Drench it. Watch it go. Iron frame will survive, but the spirit of the thing won't. Do not wait. A user named Marrow and Dust wrote, "The detail about him knowing your name is what got me. Did you pay in cash? Did he hand you any kind of receipt or note?" In the comments, someone wrote, "I work in archival restoration. Sometimes sellers at estate things are middlemen clearing out a deceased person's stuff. The thing might be addressed to whoever takes it home." The reply to that was, "This is making me sick because the man specifically asked me if I lived alone before he'd let me put cash in his hand. I said no, I live with my mom. He nodded like that was the right answer and then loaded it into my back seat himself. I thought he was just being careful. I think he was checking that there'd be a second person in the condo." A user named Soft Static Caleb wrote, "Dude, this is exactly the road I think you're describing. There's nothing out there at 2 a.m. Nothing should have been selling anything." 2 days later, Spencer came back with an update nobody wanted to read. I drove back to the gas station. It's been closed since 2016. I want to thank everyone who commented on the first post. I read all of it. I didn't dump it in a lake. I didn't burn it. I did something dumber. I decided I needed to look the seller in the face again and ask him what he sold me. I left around 11 yesterday morning. Daylight, full tank, voice memo running on my phone the whole drive so I'd have a record. I retraced the highway, took the same wrong exit, found the county road. In daylight, it's a tired strip of asphalt between two cornfields. I reached the gas station around 12:40. There was nobody there. There hasn't been for a long time. The pumps are rusted brown. The canopy over them is sagging on one side. The windows of the little store are boarded with plywood that's gone soft and gray. There are weeds coming up through cracks in the lot that are knee-high. No truck, no lantern, no man. I walked the property for maybe 10 minutes, just stupid, calling out hello like an idiot. Then I noticed a farmhouse maybe a quarter-mile down the road with a mailbox at the end of the drive. I walked over. An older guy in a barn coat was changing a tire on a four-wheeler. I asked him about the station. He said it closed in 2016, 9 years ago. Owner walked out one night to lock up and never came back. They found his keys on the pavement by pump 2. They never found him. He said it like he'd said it 100 times. Then he looked at me a little longer and asked, "You didn't buy something off somebody out there, did you?" I drove home doing 85 with the voice memo still running. Here is what I think now. The man at the truck bed wasn't selling me the typewriter. He was trying to get it out of his hands. He asked if I lived alone because he needed somebody who wouldn't be by themselves when it started. The thing isn't living inside the Olivetti. The Olivetti is just where it writes from. The thing is the previous owner, and he's been walking. Walking the same county road I drove. Every line is closer. "You took the long way back" wasn't a comment. It was a measurement. I'm pulling into my parking garage right now. I'll edit when I'm upstairs and I've seen my mom. The thread did the math before Spencer did. In the comments, someone wrote, "The line about the long way back is doing something to me. He's not threatening you. He's confirming he watched you drive." Someone else added, "Worse than that, if he watched the whole drive, he knows every turn Spencer took, which means he knows the route in reverse. He's not telling Spencer where he's been. He's telling him he can find the condo." One commenter, 9.5 miles, said, "Spencer, please go check on your mom right now. Not after you post. Now. A person walking 9 years gets there eventually." I'm upstairs. Mom is fine. Mom is in the kitchen humming the chorus of that song from the baking show, the one she always gets stuck on. She made tea. She asked me if I had a nice drive. I said yes. The Olivetti was on my desk where I left it before I went out yesterday. There's a fresh line on the page I'd put in. I want to describe the line carefully because the words are not the part that scared me. It says, "The kettle is almost ready, Spencer. Come sit with me." That's it. Short. Polite. The kind of thing my mother says about 40 times a week. But the typing. I've been staring at the typing for an hour. The spacing between the words isn't even. There's a slightly longer pause. You can see it in the ink density between ready and the comma. There's a small skip before come, like the typist took a breath. The period at the end sits a hair low, the way her handwritten periods always sit low on her grocery list because she presses too hard at the end of a sentence. It types like she writes. I went into the kitchen. The kettle was almost ready. She was setting out 2 mugs. I asked her, as casually as I could, if she'd been in my room this morning, if she'd touched the typewriter. She looked up and smiled at me with the kind of patient confusion she gets when I ask her about her phone. "Sweetheart, I don't go in your room. You know that." I asked her what she'd done last night after I went to bed. She paused, kettle in hand, and said, "I read for a little, I think." Then she laughed at herself. "Honestly, I don't remember. Isn't that funny?" It is not funny. I think I understand now. The walker didn't need to reach the front door. He got here days ago. Maybe the night I moved the typewriter to the closet. Maybe the night I locked it in the trunk. He's been inside the whole time, learning her hum, learning her cadence, learning the little low press at the end of a sentence. He's been walking back to me from inside the condo. The typewriter is just where he leaves notes for me, in her voice, until I can't tell the difference anymore. She's calling me to come sit. The tea is poured. The Olivetti hasn't typed since this morning. I'm afraid to fall asleep tonight, and I'm more afraid to drink the tea. A user named Hexagon Mom wrote, "Please tell your mother. I know you don't want to scare her, but she lives there too, and she deserves to know what's in the apartment." One comment pointed out, "Spence, it's me. Call your mother right now." I just tried her landline and it rang for a full minute, and then someone picked up and didn't say anything. Thanks for staying with me through these stories tonight. If you want more like this, the subscribe button keeps the lights on.